Welcome back to another episode of Faith First Business. I am so excited to introduce you to today's guest, Dr. Jennifer Bennett. Dr. Jen is a driven visionary communicator who has a unique way of connecting with her audience. She enjoys teaching, leading, and building, and is committed to helping others be successful. As the Hodson Endowed Faculty of Entrepreneurship at Indiana Wesleyan University, Jen equips college students to, quote, seek the welfare of the city, end quote, through their entrepreneurial ventures and to lead with influence to impact culture for Christ. Dr. Jen provides students with real-world opportunities that help launch them into their vocational callings. Dr. Jen has consulted various entrepreneurs, small business owners, ministries, organizations, and college students in social media, personal branding, marketing, and public relations. She was named as one of 65 women in digital you should be following. In 2019, she was chosen as one of 55 social media influencers to attend the NASA social for the Falcon Heavy rocket launch. She is also the author of the book #Be Worth Following: How to Be Different and Influence People in a Crowded Social World. In April of 2021, Jen launched She Impacts Culture podcast, which is a podcast for trailblazing faith-based women who want to lead with influence and impact culture for Christ through their work. Dr. Jen lives in Marion, Indiana with her husband Luke, her son Liam, and Mr. Barney Bennett, the dog. I'm so excited to talk with her today. Won't you join us? Well, we are here today with Dr. Jennifer Bennett. Thank you so much for being with us. I'm really excited to have this conversation and have the viewers get to know you more and learn about what your journey has really been with leadership and even within the school system. And I know we're going to talk about a lot of different things, but I'm just excited to have you here. So thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here, and I'm so excited that we were able to make it happen with our busy schedules and all of that. So it's just a blessing to be a part of this.
Yeah, I know that we've been trying to schedule this for a while, so I'm excited. We finally got both on the screen at the same time
Yes.
to have the conversation. So let's just start with, let's go back a little bit in time and really set the scene for the viewers and share with us about 12-year-old Jen. Were you Jen or were you Jennifer, or what was younger you like at that point? What was going on?
Yeah, what was I at 12 years old? Oh my, those were some interesting years. 12 years old, you're in that like middle school awkward age where you're trying to figure out who you are, where you belong. You're trying to navigate friendships and um yeah, it was an interesting time in my life. I grew up in a great household, Christian parents, but I'll tell you that at that age, I think I didn't have the best self-esteem. I didn't, I saw all of my other friends who were a part of the in crowd, in group, and I just felt a lot of times less than. I didn't feel like I was the smartest, the prettiest, the most athletic, multiple BFFs and being a part of this group or that group. I just, I think it was a time of my life where I was really just trying to figure out who am I and where do I belong? And at the age of 12, I mean, I was a follower of Jesus. I did have Jesus in my life, but yet like most middle school kids, I was trying to navigate all of the stuff that comes with that age. I will say that at the age of 12, I still loved playing. And I loved pretending that I was a teacher and pretending that I had my own business. One of the funny things I like to tell people is that I was the child that like for Christmas and birthdays, I wanted the receipt books. I wanted the office supplies as I was playing and pretending that I had my own business. And then I had a chalkboard in my room where I would teach my stuffed animals. And I was always a math teacher because I was horrible at math. And so for some reason, I was like, well, I'm going to pretend I'm a great math person, and I'll teach math. And so, yeah, that was kind of 12, the age of 12, a girl who was just uncertain of who she was, dealt with self-esteem issues, just wanted to belong, loved playing school and business, and loved the Lord.
I love that so much that we get that foreshadowing of what's to come, right?
Right? So true.
Yes, yeah. And I love to start at 12 because like you said, I think, everybody does go through that age. Right.
Mhm.
I think a lot of times we look at really successful people or leaders out there in the world today and think they grew up different or they always knew who they were, or like we have some illusion about like their humanness, I think.
Right. Right.
And so I love starting with that question. And I think 99% of the people I've interviewed will say, I didn't have it together, right?
Right.
I was a normal 12-year-old. I had self-esteem issues. I wasn't confident. I didn't know who I was. And I think it's just great to normalize that and that's part of our experience, you
Yeah,
know.
absolutely.
But I also love that, like I said, there's a foreshadowing there. I've seen that in every person I've interviewed as well, of like what you were doing at 12. we still
Right?
we still see some version of that in adulthood. And so there is this idea of maybe I kind of knew who I was,
Mhm.
like God put that in me from the beginning and it didn't come out of left field that you wanted to teach,
Right. Right. Yeah. And at the time, I had no idea. And
Mhm.
even as I got older and, graduated high school, I was the girl that didn't want to go to college. I didn't think I was smart enough to go to college. I was the first generation in my
Mhm.
family to even think about going to college. And so yeah, it's just when you look back and you see, for me, and probably for so many, just the hand of God on your life, even through the doubts and the confusion and all of that, how God was still molding you into the person that He created you to be. It's a beautiful, amazing thing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like these full circle moments
Yeah. Right.
when we have that realization. And maybe it's just forefront of my mind right now because I have a 16-year-old, and there's all the questions of what am I going to do and who am I going to be? And it's like, what do you enjoy?
Right. Yep.
Getting back to that, what do you enjoy? Because I think we lose that along the way.
Oh,
So,
yes, we do. We do. We
yeah.
get bogged down with all of the responsibilities of life and the world and all of that we do. We lose out on, we miss out on that curiosity, that imagination, that what do I love to do, that passion, because hey, I've got to be a responsible adult. Here are all the things I need to do.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah. So you were saying you were considering maybe not even going to college. So take us
Right.
through like what was that transition? What happened there where you were like, no, I think that's the route I need to take?
Yeah, so when I was in high school, I was the girl that just wanted to be done with high school. Like I was over it. I'll never forget in high school, I failed my geometry class. Again, there's that math. Um, Failed geometry. And really during that time, again, I just felt like I am not smart enough to go to college. Like, why would I go to college? I just want to be done with high school and, that's it. Well, I graduated high school and I decided, okay, I'll go to the local community college for like 2 years. I'll get some kind of an office systems degree. And then that's what I'll do. I'll go work in an office 9 to 5, shuffling papers, and that's what I'm going to do. And so I get to the community college, and it was like God got a hold of me and just changed so many things for me. I enjoyed my classes. I did well in my classes, even my math classes. I did have to go to tutoring all the time in order to pass my math classes, but I enjoyed my classes. And before I knew it, I was involved on campus. I was the president of a student organization, something I never thought that I would do, because in high school, that just wasn't me. And then I was on the president's cabinet as a student representative. And like God just really got a hold of me during that time and was like, no, what? I've got more for you. And so I graduated from community college and then went off to State University, where I got my degree in communication, public relations, because I was like, okay, what can I get a degree in that doesn't require a lot of math? And I felt like communication. I was like, yeah, I can do this. I enjoy that. So had a great professor there. Again, got really involved on campus. Never in my life imagined that for myself. Ended up being president of another student organization. I was a resident assistant. I ended up being voted on homecoming court, like all of the things that in high school I was just like, yeah, no, that's so not me. I'm not any of that. Like God just brought it about in my college years. And so transferred to the university, loved my time there, loved my years there. And then before I knew it, while I was there, I felt like God was calling me to continue on with my studies and to go after my master's degree. And that he was specifically calling me to go to like a Bible college or a seminary or something like that. And then once again, I was like, are you for real? Like, God, that's not me. Like, I'm not a Bible scholar, this or that. Well, before I knew it, I was off to Texas to go to seminary. And I had to deal with a lot of doubts then too, because I was like, first of all, I'm going to seminary when a lot of women don't go to seminary. And second of all, I am not a Bible scholar. Like, am I going to be surrounded by all of these guys who are really smart about the Bible? And then here's just me sitting there, you know, taking it in and not really having a lot to add. And so once again, God worked through me in that. I ended up graduating with my master's from seminary, and then did some ministry work. And then it wasn't until I was married and my husband and I um, decided to go after our doctorates together. And again, I was like, oh my, who am I? Like, really? Like, again, I'm not smart enough. I can't get a doctorate. How am I going to? I'm a horrible test taker. How am I going to even get into a program? This and that. And God opened up the door and ended up graduating with my doctorate. And during that whole time of my life, I did youth ministry for a while. Then I soon found myself in a middle school classroom as a middle school teacher. Never in my wildest dreams thought that I would be doing that, even though I played school all the time when I was younger. I'll never forget, after the first day of teaching middle school students, I sat in a student desk and just cried my eyes out. I was like, oh my gosh, what have I gotten myself into? This is a mess. This is a disaster. But God worked it out, ended up loving it. I then transferred to a private school where I was a high school teacher, and then became a school administrator. And so did teaching at middle school and high school for a while before I had my son. And then came home, and God opened up doors for me to work from home and do a variety of different entrepreneurial things there. And then when my son got older, all of a sudden I find myself in higher education, and worked at a university in North Carolina. And now here I am at Indiana Wesleyan University, going into my 4th year here and starting a new position in entrepreneurship, where I'm teaching entrepreneurship and helping to build out the program here. If you would have told 12-year-old Jen that, I would have laughed and been like, yeah, that's not me. You'll find me, shuffling papers in a cubicle back in the corner. And so, yeah, it's crazy how God takes what we think we're not capable of doing and is like, oh yeah, I got you. I got you. So
Yeah.
here I am. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so incredible to hear it. I've heard bits and pieces in the time that I've known you, that I've heard stuff here and there, but to hear it in sequence and to see, like, just as you were talking, I was just seeing almost like a roadmap,
Yeah.
where he doesn't take us A to B in a straight line, right?
Right.
It's this, we're going to go over here for a little bit and then we're going to turn and do this. And we feel like it's all over the place.
Right.
And he's like, "No, just walk with me."
Right. Exactly. Trust me, I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, and I'm sure, at each different place you were at, you picked up something different that has, you know, gone with you and contributed to what you're now doing, right? And
Yeah.
so talk about what it is that you are doing now, and how have you kind of reconciled this feeling of I'm not smart enough with
Mhm.
this is now the position that I have. Like, how do you step into that position? Um, is it just faith, trust? Is it, have your beliefs about yourself changed? Like, what, talk to us
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of all of that. Like, I think as I went through each different season of my life where God had me working in these different areas, my confidence grew, my faith and trust in God grew. And so that definitely helped. And I once heard a basketball coach say, it was actually the basketball coach here at IWU. He said in a podcast that he believes that it's not always the best basketball players that make the best basketball coaches. And I completely agree with that. Like, it's not always the straight A students that have 4.0 or higher GPA, valedictorian, and all that, that end up making the best teachers and professors. And that was me. Like, I was not the smartest girl in the room. I was not the girl with the highest grades. And yet I see how God has used that to make me to mold me into a professor. And, when I was a middle school teacher and a high school teacher, to mold me into a teacher who could connect with my students, but then also teach in such a way that my students can understand the material. And so I really believe that in each of those experiences, God was just moving in some beautiful ways, even though I had no idea what he was doing. And my path and journey feels like it's been all over the place. Yet now, at this point in my life, I see the puzzle pieces coming together to form this beautiful picture. And God, I wholeheartedly believe that my calling is teaching. And when I look back on my life, I see how God used that in a variety of ways, from youth ministry teaching to middle school, to high school, to a school administrator where I was teaching other teachers, to then working from home and teaching entrepreneurs and business leaders and organizations how to utilize the online world and social media and branding and communication and all that, to now teaching at the college level where I've taught entrepreneurial marketing. I've taught a variety of strategic communication classes, and now I'll be teaching even more entrepreneurship courses. And so, um, teaching is the profession he's called me to, and he's used it in a variety of ways, in a variety of industries. And with every experience, he has just shown me how faithful he is, that in your weakness and my weakness, he truly is strong. He makes me strong. He gives me what I need when I need it. And that it's not always the top dogs who end up making the best professionals in their field. I hope that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, no, that absolutely makes sense, because I think it keeps you more grounded, more
Yeah,
relatable,
yeah,
like to not be the straight A student to then go into teaching and know feel that connection with those kids who aren't the straight A students, to be
Yeah.
able to have compassion and empathy, and not, because I had teachers that would really just be like, "How do you not get this? How do you not?" And I'm like,
Mhm. Yeah.
"Geometry is not my thing." Like,
Right?
there was no compassion in it or understanding, and it just, I don't know what they were like as students, but it makes you think. I think there's this idea that teachers know everything because they're
Oh,
teaching it.
right, we don't. We don't. My students teach me
Yeah.
a lot of times with the questions that they ask or their input or all of that. And I think and that's one of the beautiful things about me now working at a Christian college, Christian university, is that I have the opportunity to really help students see that, okay, if you don't get a good grade on something, that's not the end of your world. Please know that your identity is not wrapped up in your grades, because for so long that's what it was for me. Well, I'm not smart enough. I can't do this. This must be who I am, and it's not. Like and so the fact that I can help students realize um and help encourage them that their identity is in Christ and it's not in their grades, and that if they don't excel at something, that's okay. If they fail at something, that's okay. How are you learning and how are you growing in the process? And how are you having to lean into God even more so?
Yeah. Yeah. That's such a great point, and I love that we do have people in your position that can say those things,
Mm.
and the grade not be the focus.
Right.
I think a lot of students would do so much better if they had more teachers saying the grade is not the
Yeah.
end.
Right. Exactly.
There's so much more to learn from this than how you do on a test.
Yes.
It's so much bigger than that, and really teaching life skills more than test taking, I think.
Right.
You
Right.
know?
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. So what do you think it is that makes a really great leader?
Mm. Yeah, my initial thought that comes to mind is somebody who really cares about people. I think if you do not care about people, then you will not be able to lead people well. And so there's got to be something within you that cares about the well-being of the people that you have the opportunity to lead, coach, and mentor. Like you have to care so much about them that you want to see them succeed, that you want to help them succeed, and that you also care about not just their professional life, but also their personal life. Like what's going on in their personal life? How can you connect with them there? I think that is such an important part of leadership that we tend to not see always in our world today. It's all about the to-dos, the tasks, the goals, and all of that. But man, the leaders that I have always loved have been those who have taken an active interest in me, who have helped me grow, who have taken an active interest in my personal life too, and who see me as an individual, not just an employee.
Yeah. Yeah. That's huge. It's huge because, yeah, leading is, it's such a responsibility.
Mhm. Yeah,
And yeah, if you're the one trying to lead and you don't care about people, you're impacting people in ways that you don't understand.
right.
It's just, yeah, I wish I had I can't think of a more uh of a different word than it's just so incredibly important, right? It's so significant how you lead and your motivation behind leading. Right,
Right.
that it's not about, "I'm the leader, so it's about me, and hey, look at me," and having a platform, but it's really leading is about how you care for other people, and that everybody is leading someone, whether they're on a platform or not, and
That's
we
right.
just overall as a society need to be nicer to each other.
Absolutely. And I believe that leadership is influence,
Yes.
and you can use that influence either for good or for bad. And so, if you are a leader, which I believe we all, like you mentioned, we're all leaders, we all have influence over someone or a group of people. How are we using that? Is it for good? Are we caring about people? Are we helping people? Are we wanting to see them grow? Or are we using it for bad?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's switch gears a little bit. I want to talk about this book, um, hashtag be worth following. How to be
Yeah.
different and influence people in a crowded social world. How did this come about? What gave you the idea for writing this?
Yeah, so at the time, I was working from home because I was home with my son, and God opened up a variety of doors for me to help entrepreneurs, ministry leaders, businesses, leaders, organizations with their social media platforms. And as I was spending so much time in social media, one of the things that just kept coming to mind were how people were using social media and how I felt they were using it in all the wrong ways. Like they wanted to be followed, but they weren't being followed due to what they were putting out there on social media. And so I wanted to write a book that was specifically geared towards Christian women who wanted to use their social media platforms for good, who wanted to be worth following on social media, whether it was for their business or their personal following, whatever it may be. And so I decided to write a book, and that book was written and published. And I'm so grateful that I had the opportunity to do that, because from what I've heard from people who have read it, they've really enjoyed it. It's been encouraging to them. And it's not like your typical social media book. It's not about all about strategy and all of that. There's a big faith component to it. And it really gives readers the opportunity to dig into who they are, how God has created them, and then how they can use their social media platforms for good.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what would you say is the thing that makes people be worth following?
Oh, so many things. So many things. Here's what I think. I think you have to figure out, again, as a Christ follower, what is God calling me to share online? What messages does he want me to share online? Like, you have to get clear about that, because if you're not clear about that, then you're going to be sharing about a bunch of stuff, maybe even the heated topics that God is like, yeah, no, 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 I don't want you sharing about that on there right now. And then before you know it, your social media platforms are not a reflection of who you are, your beliefs, your values, all of that. And so I think before you even get active on social media, you really have to consult with the Lord and be like, okay, how can I use my platforms to glorify you? And what is the message and or messages that you've given me that you want me to share online? And so a personal example for me, like, I don't share a lot of political stuff online, because I find that just stirs people up. And for me, I'd much rather have one-on-one conversations with people around some of those hot topics, because then they can hear from me, they can see my body language, my tone of voice, all of that. And then I also have the opportunity to hear from them and hear their story and their thoughts. And it ends up turning into a beautiful conversation, which for me is so much healthier and deeper than just typing something out on social media and then everybody chimes in, and before we know it, people are arguing with each other in the comment section about stuff. And so I think if you want to be worth following online, you have to consult the Lord and say, okay, what are you calling me to speak on in this season of my life? What are you calling me to share? And then what am I not supposed to share right now? And then take it from there. And I'll tell you, there's been lots of times where I'll start typing something out and then I'm like, delete, 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 delete. Nope, don't, nope, we're not going to do that today. So yeah, I would say that's the number one thing you have to realize if you want to be worth following online.
Yes. Yes. I don't know if y'all caught that. Dr. Jen just dropped like a ton of keys for you to pick up. There was so much there. Go back, rewind, listen to it again because that's hugely important to think about and to pray about. Lord, what is the message? What am I sharing today? What am I not sharing today? I think that's huge. So many
Mhm.
people don't ask the question, are you releasing me to share this? Right?
Right.
They hear from him and they think immediately it's got to come out and everybody needs to hear it. And there's times when, just like you said, I've been typing something out that I had a revelation about something, or he showed me a different perspective. And it was like, I want to tell everybody. And I start typing it. And he's like, that was just for you right now. Well,
Yeah.
maybe share it later, but not right now.
Right.
And I'm like,
Exactly.
why? And because it's not even, I think we think of that in a negative way, like, don't share it because it's something controversial or it's something negative, but it's not even that. It may just be his timing for
Right.
releasing things to the
Right.
world,
That's right.
right? And we've got to trust his timing and
Yep.
not just, I think sometimes I get so excited, I just want to like, here's everything I know.
Right. I can relate to that.
And he's like, "Not today, Susan, not today."
And I think when you can come to that realization, you just find freedom then in
Mm,
how you use social media. And then you find that maybe it's not so much of a time suck for you, where you're just aimlessly scrolling because you know then what your purpose is for being on social media.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. There's so much freedom in it,
Mhm.
and I talk to a lot of people who have this idea, if I stop and pray about everything, it's gonna slow me down, and I'm like, "But that's where the freedom is."
Right.
Right? He's giving you the freedom, and in
Right.
knowing who you are and being confident to show up that way, there's freedom in that,
Right.
right? And so you don't feel like, "I need to share all the things right now."
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Mm. Well, we started out talking about 12-year-old Jen. Let's go back to her for a moment. If you could turn back time and talk to her now, what would you say to her?
Oh man. I think I'd be like, baby girl, keep going.
Mm,
Keep going. Like what you are feeling, what you think, like God has so much more in store for you. Keep going, keep trusting God. Don't let the naysayers or those middle school boys or girls who are mean, like, don't let them get to you. God has so much more for you than what you can possibly imagine. Keep your eyes focused on Him, keep trusting Him, allow Him to guide your journey, and know that He loves you and that He's got you and He's got a good life set
mm,
up for you. So keep trusting Him.
mm. That's so
Yeah.
good. That's so
Mm,
good.
yeah.
Yeah. Just not, I think that's even for somebody today, like, don't get bogged down in what you just see in front of you.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's so much more
Right. Right. Exactly.
beyond, what the circumstances that we can see.
Yeah.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this has been such an incredible conversation. I feel like I've gained so much just being with you. I'm so grateful that you were able to be here. I know people are going to want to connect with you after hearing your story. So what is the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, they can find me at my website, drjenbennett.com, and or they can find me on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram at Dr. Jen Bennett. I'd love to connect. And this has been so great. Susan, thank you so much for having me. I've loved our conversation, love the work that you're doing. And I just pray that God would just continue to bless you in mighty, mighty ways.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Yes, and I'll have all the links in the description of the video, so y'all go check those out, connect with Dr. Jen, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Thanks so much for tuning in today. If you want to learn more about me or any of my guests, all of the links are in the description below the video. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and share it on all your social pages. Until next time, remember that you have the power to multiply life without burnout.